In this episode, I interview Bruce Bennett, one of the best hockey photographers in the business. Hey, Bruce, I'd like to introduce you to everybody. So, Bruce Bennett, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm 5'6", 155 pounds. Oh, that's not what you meant. Yeah.
It all works.
It works, yeah. I'm a professional photographer. I direct the hockey coverage for Getty Images these days. Been in the industry 53 years. Started at Bruce Bennett Studios, which was weird. I was able to find a company that had my name attached to it. But did 30 years there, and on my 23rd year at Getty Images. And
Wow.
My specialty has been ice hockey all these years.
Yes, definitely. I was kind of curious. I remember when I was in Sochi for the Olympics, just watching you work, watching you control all that stuff. How many Olympics have you covered?
Well, Creeper, I guess this has been my seventh Olympics. Was
Wow.
this year in Milan. It's kind of fun. I mean, it's kind of weird. It's a big workload, but 38 games in 18 days. But once you sit down there and you start shooting, you're not thinking about anything except you and the game, same as when you do NHL stuff. You just focus on the action.
Right. Yeah, I think I did. I think I had counted. I think I might have done like 21 games in 14 days. A few of those 3 games a day.
Yeah.
It was just a little much. You're more used to it than I was. And people that like, hey, that must have been fun. That must have been, you shoot hockey a lot, so that must have been easy. I'm like, how you feel after a game? Do you know how, because you're thinking all the time. You're trying to stay sharp every time the play is going on. Now imagine doing that 3 times in one day.
Yeah. It's there is a stretch in the Olympics, and you hit it every year, where it's 7 days in a row. You've got 3 games every day, except one of the days in there is a 2-game day. And boy, that 2-game day feels really, really good.
It's like a vacation for the day.
It's like, wow, wait, I have nothing at night? That's awesome. And then once you get through those 7 days, from there it's just it's nickel and dime hockey. It's 1 or 2 games a day, and it's it kind of, you've gone over the hump once you get through that week of hell.
Right, definitely. How many games or how often do you travel during the season and not cover your New York-based area games?
Yeah, not as many as I used to. There were a few years where I hit every team, every home team at once, a couple of years in a row, or I'd get really close, 28 to 30 different arenas. But I can hit my numbers, my self-imposed numbers. Nobody's kind of dictating to me what to do, but
Right.
I can hit my 120 assignments a year by mostly staying in the New York area, and that's Islanders, Rangers, Devils are all close.
Right.
A few in Philly. Maybe I go up to Boston or down to Washington for a little bit here or there, but these days more than not, I'm just sticking around locally until playoffs, and then
Gotcha. Right.
start traveling with the second round of the playoffs and try to keep the string of hockey games going for me.
Right. Do you have a favorite arena?
It's always the home arenas. I've learned through the years that the arenas that you're most familiar with the security guards and how to get from point A to point B, it's when I travel, and it's you realize there's no place like home.
Right.
In most of my local arenas, actually the 3 usuals, Islanders, Rangers, Devils, I've got a deep hole position where I can see the entire ice. A couple of the arenas I have strobes in. I know the big thing in my head is the height of where the hole is and what I'm sitting on. If I'm off in another arena and I'm not in a comfortable position, it gets into my head, and it seriously affects my shooting. So
Right.
as long as I'm in my home arenas, I'm comfortable.
That's one thing to travel around, and that's a big thing. When I usually just do like the preseason road trips for our team, and it's the same thing where it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm used to my hole, I'm used to my position, and all of a sudden it's like a totally different height. And being short, barely hitting 5'6", it's like, wait a minute, this hole and this stool isn't really matched that well.
Yeah, I go prepared as best I can with all kinds of, you got to bring all your photo equipment and your remote gear and your clothing and, dress warmly enough because sometimes in some of these arenas it's way different temperature than it is in my home arenas, which I'm used to. But yeah, there are always some tricks, and one of the tricks, of course, is, as you know from the traveling, is walking around the arena and trying to find milk crates and other things to sit on that don't have cockroaches on them. But yeah, a little better, with experience you get a little better at being resourceful and making sure that you're at the right height.
Yes.
But some of the arenas don't have the deep holes, and that affects your shooting, where you're just literally watching what happens at the other end of the ice, because
Right.
TV has the best positions, or the team hasn't cut enough photo holes in the right spots for you.
Right. I know, especially at playoffs, and I've seen when you're at your home games using a remote camera, when you travel, do you set up a remote often?
It always depends on the arena and access. So, the easy one, and it's not easy, but the easier one is the net cam. Typically, I'll set up a net cam at the far end of the ice from where I shoot.
Right.
Rafters depends on whether we have access, or the goal light stanchion, or RoboCam pole right behind the net with a wide 1635. That's pretty standard. It all depends on what the matchup is, what I'm trying to do that game, what clients have asked for any specific images.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know from a young age that photography was going to be your career? Did you feel like you wanted to go?
I thought I'd be an accountant. I could graduate from college and make 20 grand a year. I mean, that was the goal. I took pictures, in elementary school. I'd borrow my father's either his Instamatic at some point, but I think before that was even the Brownie, one of those you look down into, a little black box, and I'd get berated for shooting up all the film on the class trips to the Bronx Zoo or New York City. So I always had a little bit of a bug, and realized at some point that my father did a good job of documenting everything in our lives. And
That's good.
in later years, I think I found or was given a look through his journals from World War II days that included not only written documents that that he would type out, but all his photography. And I think that's probably where I kind of got the bug to be a documentarian of some sort. And figured out partway through my college years that accounting wasn't really my thing anymore. And that's really when I started, when I was 18 years old, shooting a couple of pictures just for fun at a couple of hockey games. Was able to sell them, and that was the start of my career.
Interesting, because my first pro game, my first Cardinals baseball game, I was 18. And
that's
pretty much
funny.
from then on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now you're like 24, 25, right? Super.
Yeah. Wow. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, 61 a couple weeks ago.
I do notice, from the beard, you are catching up to me a little bit as well.
A little bit of gray hair, the hair. Yeah, exactly. It can go white. I don't even care. It's it's what's in here, how you feel. Exactly. Yeah. Do you feel like you've covered probably an incredible amount of milestones? Do you have any top favorites that you always think of or always remember or go to?
Well, because of my advanced age, I really only remember what I've shot in the last year. Prior to that, I look through the photos and think, wow, you shot that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Look, obviously, going back from the earlier days, I mean, I shot all of Gretzky's career, so had a lot of milestones, and covered, whether it was 802 or his retirement games. I mean, throughout the entire career, Mario Lemieux's career, Crosby and Ovechkin from their start. But I guess the most important one that's top of my mind is from the past year was Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's record, and what great images came out of that event. So that's on top of my mind because that's the most recent big event. Although Olympics this year with the U.S. winning was huge, men and women.
Right.
So that made for some great images. I don't know, the hits keep coming, man. And I can't complain when the play goes my way. If I'm lucky enough to be in focus and not get blocked by a ref or a player, hopefully I'll continue making images that I'm proud of.
Do you ever feel like there's a age or a time where you're like, want to wind down, or you just like, I know I want to keep shooting as long as my body lets me shoot?
Yeah. There are times. There are times when I have that thought pattern, but it's like a golfer. A golfer always says, and I hate golf, but a golfer always says, and I hate golfers, but golfer always says it's that one shot that brings you back the next day. And with hockey or photography, it's the same thing. That one shot, the thrill of the chase is very hard to walk away from. And so, I've planned for this coming year to cut down my workload on how many games I shoot. Most of my friends, photographer friends, are going, yeah, you've been saying that every year. So we'll see how it goes. It's hard to sit at home when there are games going on locally.
Yeah.
But there are other Getty Images staffers and stringers we rely on and who I assign to games when I'm not there. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, physically, it's not a big toll. I've said, and I've said it a lot recently, if the schedule would allow for it, I could shoot a game every other night through the season and not even blink.
Right.
But there's a lot of back end that has to be done, and that means getting prepared for the game, getting the equipment packed, getting to the game, putting up remote cameras, and then after the games. So it's a late night coming home. I wake early. I have other responsibilities, directing the hockey coverage for Getty Images. And then what we call non-live edit. So it's not just your game night stuff. The day after the game, you might have 1,000 to 3,000 images to go through to put up more images for our stock needs. And that is trading cards and 8x10 vendors and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot involved.
Definitely, I feel like the equipment is a big part of that. I mean, the computer work, because I sit there on my computer when I'm not covering an event, just going through and editing stuff that I just shot. But I also find myself going back and saying, okay, let's look at a couple games from like 10 years ago. Do I really need to save all these images on this hard drive, or can I just dump them, to another drive and put that drive away? People don't realize, hey, wasn't it, great shooting digital, or isn't it great shooting digital when, you just basically have everything right away versus film? And I'm like, well, you shoot so much more, whether you really kind of want to or not, that now you're editing just a ton more images and spending so much more time at your computer than you ever did.
Yeah, and it's the cataloging and being able to find something when someone is looking for the guy who only played 2 minutes in a game, and maybe I moved one or two images because I'm very in tune with guys who appear in very few games. Those guys need to be covered as much as the stars need to be covered, and you've got to, you can't throw anything out. And when the need is there, you have to be able to find those images. I mean, I spent the last couple of days, one of the summer activities is now going through the Dropbox and trying to cut it down, because it's teetering on the 2 terabytes, and I don't want to go into the next level, which is a ridiculous amount of money that the company would pay. But you got some responsibility here to clear out the Dropbox and decide what can be put on a backup drive and not in a secure location, because that hard drive obviously can go bad at a moment's notice. But at some point you've got to move stuff around and make sure it's still accessible in some way.
Definitely, and especially just some of the greatest moments that you've captured. I mean, those are images people just like to see over and over again. So I get the cataloging. If somebody says, hey, I need a picture from this one milestone from 15 years ago, that you need to find it easily. You don't want to be going through all those games at a certain time period trying to find one picture.
Yeah, but those at least, the big moments, they're all cataloged on the Getty Images site with the redundant backups, and those things I never worry about. It's the images that are the extras from the games that
Right.
didn't make it up online, the thousands of images that you may be called on someday to find. But there's still archival images from the Bruce Bennett Studios collection in an archive out in Los Angeles. We're talking about over 2 million images.
Wow.
And those
That's
images
awesome.
are in slide, negative, or print
Right.
form. And every once in a while, meaning every, year or two, try to get access or get someone to access material that's out there. The deep file archive is a big challenge in the industry because it just doesn't pay to have someone go through that material hoping, scanning, photoshopping, captioning, getting it up online is a tedious and expensive, endeavor, and trying to do that and hope that day someone will ask for a photograph of some obscure player, the odds just aren't in it.
Right.
So that material sits there until we have an actual client request for something specific, and that's the only way we're going to be able to access that material.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I know I have some, whether it's baseball, hockey, football, whatever, that are on film that are images that, I wish I knew exactly where to find them. I know where the boxes are. I know, I can kind of have an idea with some binders dated and stuff like that. But yeah, I wish that I could have the time or money to, have a lot of that stuff scanned just to have it archived. You take so many great action photos. I'm curious, do you ever think that you would like to do more storytelling in your photos?
Every day.
Do you?
Every
Okay.
day. The problem is that I'm the guy who bridges the gap at Getty Images from content to sales, or from sales to content. So the sales guys or clients directly would contact me and say, this is what we need. And then I would either cover it or I would send that list of needs out to photographers. So since I'm on that edge there where I have to tell the client we have it or we don't have it, we can get it or we can't get it, I'm more of a sales guy in my head. So when I go out and I shoot images, there's always being torn between what I know sells or what is needed versus hitting that creative spark in me that says, oh, I want to do pictures from that camera in the rafters looking straight down on the net. That fulfills a creative need in me,
Right.
which most photographers have, is the desire to be creative and not only shoot a great action shot, but do it with a creative flair. I mean, it's kind of Getty Images' thing is to shoot the creative stuff, but it's always me saying, okay, wait a minute. I'm good at stock photography. That's what I do best. The creative thing, yeah, I do it once in a while. I don't think it's my strong suit. I know it's not my strong suit. Some people would argue with me on that, but I know what I'm good at, and it's doing the nickel and dime work of stock shot.
The stuff that sells.
Individual, isolated action where at least 3/4 of the player's face is towards the camera. I've said it a
Right.
million times. It's written it a million times. That's the bulk of what we sell and the bulk of what our clients want. You want to go out and do your creative thing, and I've had the arguments with not only staff photographers but freelancers. Get me what I need first. Get
Right.
what our client needs first, and carve out some time or put up a remote camera so that you can feed that creative need that you have to produce those kind of images and win your contests with those things, which a lot of the photographers are looking to do.
So with covering the early years of Gretzky, Lemieux, Ovechkin, Crosby, do you feel that you are missing out and wish you were able to do more of the younger kids now that you know could be rising stars, like Celebrini, Bedard, guys like that?
Yeah, I mean, every generation there's a player. I mean, we got Connor McDavid, for one, who is a joy not only to watch, him, and luckily in my own backyard, Matthew Schaefer is like, the kid is the highlight reel already at 18 years old, or he'll be 19 this coming month. So, I've seen enough of Celebrini and Bedard to know that the next generation is here and coming. When I look at my schedule, or I book my schedule, I always say, okay, well, I don't want to miss Bedard and I don't want to miss Celebrini, and there are a bunch of other players around the league that I take a lot of joy out of shooting. So, look, I could go on forever in this career and, look ahead and go, well, you got Olympics coming, you got, World Cup or whatever they're calling it, the next Four Nations or whatever. But at some point, you got to jump out and go, okay, well, it's enough, but still enjoying the challenge every day and getting a good shot at all the upcoming stars, to know that hockey's getting better and better. And there's always going to be some players that you have the desire to shoot and
Right.
or enjoy watching.
Yeah, you mentioned Four Nations. Do you feel, was there a big difference? I know it's fewer games, comparing the Four Nations tournament to Olympics. Did you feel like a big change there, or was it kind of felt familiar?
Well, on the Four Nations, the only game that I shot was the final game. We had
Okay.
other photographers covering it early. We didn't know what the demand was going to be early on. So, looking back, we definitely understaffed it, the earlier games. But as it, look, the quality of play was great. And, U.S. Canada coming down at the final, that was fabulous as well. Olympics with all the NHL players, look, quality of play was great. But the fact is, the previous Olympics that I shot without NHL players, loved every minute of it as well. I mean, you could make the argument that a lot of players from the European countries, the other participating countries, take more joy or equal amount of joy winning a gold medal as they would winning the Stanley Cup, but when they're playing for a gold medal, I mean, I think that's more important to them than winning the Four Nations Cup or whatever they call it.
Right, representing
but-
their countries is so
Yeah.
big. Yep.
And that's it. I mean, they're representing their countries and they take it seriously. And, watching the U.S. team do what they did, I think it was a tremendous boost for USA hockey and for the profile of hockey in general in the United States.
Definitely. With the world of photography constantly evolving, new technologies, new trends, how do you keep up with that, or do you even worry about a lot of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, on the technical end, I'm a geek. I always was, and that helped me build my business from the start, whether it was, being first independent company to be selling images on the internet through a bulletin board system. Your old timers will remember that terminology, telefinder and bulletin boards and stuff. So I was a geek early on. I mean, I built computers, so I embraced the technology early, whether it was remote cameras or netcam usage. And yeah, I study more, I study as equal amount computers and new technologies as I do with the current cameras. Like, one of my off-season things is I read the camera manuals all over again.
Oh,
And I
wow.
read the manuals on the remotes. I mean, it's as much a profession as it is a hobby, and that's important. And I'll study photography, not so much in the hockey realm, but I'll study photography in other sports and see what other photographers are doing in other sports that I can adapt to the hockey world and, come out with something that's different.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
didn't think about that, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you usually get new gear when some new stuff comes out and you've read positive reviews, or do you kind of just sit back a little bit and use what you have, or see more of the other gear, the new stuff?
Yeah. Getty Images is really great for me in that it's not my money that's being spent on this stuff.
Right.
The new gear usually arrives when Pocket Wizard came out with their new remotes, the 5E. I dropped a note to my boss and said, here you go, let's give it a shot. And he was like, go for it. and picked up a couple of those so I could be one of the early adapters and learn the positives and the negatives. And in return, I would do a written report on that stuff and some of the other new equipment so that my boss is more in tune with what I found is positive and negative about anything new that comes out. So he's more in tune with what his photographers in the other venues or in the other sports, what would work for them, what they would need, what would work positively, and what the drawbacks are.
Right. Have you faced many challenges in what you do? Do you feel like over the years things were easier, harder, certain things happen? How do you feel about the hockey photography industry from when you started to now? Has there been a lot of challenges, or do you feel like it's been kind of an easy flow, just staying up with everything?
Yeah, well, I think photographers know that they're going to face challenges, whether it's challenges with the equipment or challenges in their venues. In hockey, I mean, we used to sit at center ice in photo boxes or in penalty boxes and shoot without glass in front of us.
Yep.
And we'd go home and flinch in the middle of the night. And we'd wake up, literally, thinking about getting hit with a stick or a puck or a player. And then we went to 4-inch by 5-inch holes in the corners of the arenas. Then we went to having little coverings over those that we have to pull in front of us. So we've all adapted,
Right.
Whether it's hockey or other sports. You have no choice but adapt or die. When the industry went to digital, you adapted or died, and some photographers couldn't make that leap. Some photographers, were kind of cast aside because they couldn't do the computer end of what was needed for the profession. But I think a lot about the challenges in the arenas, and the fact is the photographers who rise to the surface who are the ones who can adapt to all the changes and ignore all the noise around them and just focus. Greg Seamus said to me several times over the Olympics when I was losing my shit, he would say, "It's just the game. It's
Right.
just another game. So block out all that stuff and just you and the players." And he was absolutely right. Sometimes I take it too seriously, and I needed Greg to take me back to earth and go, okay, it's just you and the game. Focus on what's in front of you. And yeah, you're getting reflections as you're shooting through glass, and you're getting, jostled by the guy who's too close to you on one side or the other. And basically you just have to shut all that stuff out, which
Right.
honestly through the years I've gotten better at. And sometimes I'll even put in earbuds and block out the fans and the noise so that you can just focus on yourself and the action.
Yeah, I do miss having the fisheye around my neck and just kind of poking it through the hole when the action gets close, but now with the cover, I can't do that. And I really do miss shooting in between the benches, because the way our building is, you have that little, wall that's pushed us back a little bit. We have fans in between our benches, and so there's curved glass on my left side, and so I can't really see anything once the puck goes in the blue line. I mean, I can't do anything left, so I basically don't shoot there anymore, and I miss that a lot.
Yeah, there's one arena that I still have access in New Jersey, and I don't think this past year I even used that access. Challenging there. Challenging position, but yeah, to be able to get headshots on the players, as I've said many times, it's all about the eyes and the faces. Right. And the concentration. And that's a position, you can shoot those shots, but you always have to be leery of what's happening on the ice.
Definitely.
So they're not going to get hit in the back of the head when you're trying to get some headshots.
Right. I do love those portraits on the bench, but I also, realized early on between the benches that, oh, great, the team's going to an attacking mode and they're in the zone, but all of a sudden, there's a defensive line change because the puck's in the offensive zone. So now I got players coming in back and forth in front of me, getting off the ice, getting on the ice. I've gotten a nice stick through a hole down to the bone, split open. So yeah, I definitely feel that. And, luckily I don't flinch anymore, whether it's baseballs or, a football player coming close to you. I've just kind of gotten used to, staying as sharp as I can on the puck, on the bodies there that are getting close to me. And in that way, I think it's been a little safer than it was in my younger years, where I might have not paid as much attention to those things that I need to.
But it's always a matter of getting too greedy, because I
Right.
think you do it and I do it as well. It's like whether it's a player that was on the hit list and he's not getting many shifts, and you just stay in there just a little too long,
Right.
to get some shots. And I know Carolina in the finals, and I was just hammering it a little too long at warm-ups, and I literally had my lens hit twice in the same warm-ups. And one of the ice guys who I've seen there for years and years, he goes, "Not your lucky day. I don't know if you want to shoot the game from this photo position." But it's such a rarity.
Right.
But I know I was pressing too hard to get something, and I don't even remember at this point what it was. But to get hit twice in the same warm-ups and crack the rim on a 7200 in two different places was very bizarre.
Oh, I bet. Are there any specific photographers or artists who have influenced your work over the years?
No, I just look at myself and see how great I am. And Scott Rovac in St. Louis, I'm a big follower of his work.
Thanks.
You could cut that out.
Yeah.
Early days, Joe DiMaggio was my mentor, Long Island-based photographer. His mentored me in not only life issues, but in photography. Him and his wife, Joanne Kalish, were huge influences on me. And prior to that, the old classics. Denny Brodeur, father of Martin Brodeur, the goaltender. Not only an unbelievable gentleman, a guy who, his body of work, just shooting mostly Montreal Canadiens, was just tremendous. Produced, I think, 3 outstanding books from his work. And David Beer, another Montreal-based photographer, was just a classic. And let me go tell you just a brief story of Denny Brodeur. It was a Canada Cup, and he wasn't covering all the games up in Montreal, and I was up there shooting, I guess, hockey news and just freelancing at that point. And I asked him at some point, we'd get together for coffee after the games, which was at a place right across from the old Montreal Forum. And I asked him if I could use his strobes for a game, and he said, "Yeah, this is a game I'm not going to go to. This is where you plug in. This is how you do it." Okay, fine. Well, his strobes were so old that the recycle time on the strobes was 12 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So they wouldn't come, for those who don't know strobes, powerful flashes that are up in the rafters. They attach to just your camera. You're the only one that can shoot with them. And typical strobes these days, it's 2-second recycle, maybe a little faster depending on how you have them set. But it was a 12-second recycle. And when you think about it, his sense of timing was so good and so spot on that he was able to capture that moment in one frame and then get set, wait 12 seconds till he could shoot another frame.
Wow.
For me, what I did for that Canada Cup game was I had one camera on one shoulder that was attached to the strobes, and I'd shoot my one frame, and then he'd pick up another camera and blast, whole blast, and then go, okay, my 12 seconds are up, I'm ready for my one frame. Because I needed quantity for all my clients, and that one frame in 12 seconds was a killer. But that's how good Denny Brodeur was.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any projects in mind? Do you wish you could collaborate with anybody on any type of projects? Or you just really just enjoy what you're doing for yourself and for Getty Images and stick with that?
Yeah, the projects that are going on now is, for me, look, I like working alone. I like being left alone when I'm working, and I like working alone. So I kind of block everything out. Occasionally we have some interns or some younger photographers who need a hand or need a little guidance, and that I don't mind at all. Well, yeah, I guess I do mind it a little bit because it's somewhat distracting. But
Yep.
I've got projects going on now, including revising the design on the net cam that's put in the hockey net. I've got a trading card thing that's coming up with Upper Deck. I've got a book that's coming out by Abrams Publishers at the end of 2027, and that's a lot of work that's going into that. So those are the ongoing projects, and it's always looking for the next thing,
Right.
to be different and to stand out from the crowd. So that always takes up a lot of brain space.
Speaking about books, is that a process you enjoy? Because, I'll pick up one of your books and frequently just fly through the pages just to keep the juices flowing, as they say. I love looking at some other people's works. Is that a process, putting a book together, that you do enjoy, or do you feel like it's a little bit of a grind?
It's agony. It's agony because, the previous book I did in 2015, I think, was 246 photographs. Look, if you've shot 2.5 million, you better be able to find 246 good ones in all that. The problem is when you find 500 that you like and then trying to cut it down. So I think this current book, I'm at the current edit, we're at 400, and trying to get it from the 400 to about 220 to 250 is going to be the difficult cut.
Just make it thicker.
Yeah, why not? Maybe you do 250 in the book and 150 are on the website with a secret link or something or other. But the cut is difficult. To cull it down is very difficult for myself. So the guys at Abrams and one of the guys at Getty Images, Sean Waldron, who's the point on this project, he'll advise, because I'm just not very good at editing, evidently.
This is always the fun question for us older photographers. What kind of advice would you give to someone just starting their journey in photography, not necessarily sports or hockey, photography? Do you have advice that you give? Because I'm sure you get some younger people that are coming into the industry that'll ask you questions. Do you give a quick, stock answer, or do you engage and try to help them out a little bit?
Yeah, I was very proud of myself for many years that I would look at every portfolio and answer every email. And I do at some point answer every email, but it may take me a long time, and it may be I'll have to get back to you, when it's not as busy. And I put it as an event in my Outlook so I don't forget them. I'm sure there's somebody who's fallen by the wayside who's angry or thinks I'm a dick, but questions on technique and all that kind of stuff, I try to answer everyone, because I know I was treated poorly by the press photographers when I first got started. I never wanted to be that guy. It's difficult because there are more and more requests every year. It's quite difficult. The thing is, a lot of photographers look to get their work in front of myself and other photographers, and we've got people at Getty Images who or better suited, especially if someone is shooting all different sports that I don't do. I'm the one-trick pony. So the advice I really give photographers is narrow your work down to your 20 best images. If you only shot a sport once, doesn't mean you have something for your portfolio to show. And that's huge, because I know I used to do that as well. I tried to be something to everyone. And if I shot tennis once, I put in one tennis photo that wasn't particularly good, but I was trying to show I was a well-rounded guy. And don't show your work till you're ready. As a famous philosopher once said, the moment you own it, you better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Yo. So you keep that in mind, because, you could hit me once with a portfolio which is usually somebody who sends me 60 images they shot in a game, or a link to 60 images. Just don't do that. Pass it around friends and others before you go and you try to sell yourself on to me or anybody else at newspapers, magazines, websites. Pick your spot.
Yep. You're more generous than I am. I usually say, give me your 10 best. And if I see 11, I'm like, well, why did you put the 11th one in there? Why can't you narrow it down? I want you to be a strong editor. Forget about the photography for a moment and be an editor and look at your work. So you're a little more lenient on that one. Is there any key lessons that you feel I know you mentioned with some press photographers not treating you the right way. Do you feel those are kind of like life lessons? So you're trying to be a little more helpful because they weren't helpful for you. Is that something you think about, or is that, that's the past, move on?
It always stuck with me. And I would have to say also, I don't think I was good in the middle part of my career. Once, I got established, I probably wasn't that forthcoming with other photographers because I was feeling a lot more competitive. So fighting for every dollar, fighting for every client. So I probably wasn't good in the middle part of my career. Now that I'm close to death, I figure I might as well. I'm just kidding you there. Yeah, now that my days are near, the end of days is near, I'm a little bit more forthcoming with knowledge and help. And it's always interesting to me, when someone, comes forward and said, "Hey, you really helped me, with knowledge when I needed it most," and I'm going, I have no idea who you are or what he said to you.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
I was like, you sure it was me? Because I kind of pride myself on being a dick. So, yeah, you must be thinking about somebody else.
Yeah, that's when you go, yeah, I'm glad I was able to help.
Yeah, whatever. I probably gave them the wrong exposure or something, I tried to set them in the wrong direction.
Right. Social media, online platforms have become integral in photography. How do you utilize these platforms? Watching or seeing your Instagram posts and stuff, do you feel that now, well, that's extra work because now you want to get stuff posted. How do you utilize that? Do you just enjoy putting some pictures out there? What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, who doesn't like a good like here and there? I mean, it always feels good when you get a lot of people responding. So I try to get 1, 2, or 3 images up after every game. Some games, just because of timing, I don't do it, or some games I just don't have anything. I have to probably be a little bit more cognizant of not putting up something just to show you were at a game, which is a big thing that photographers do. But I eventually split off my Instagram from mostly hockey and a few other things to another recent project is shooting wildlife, which I enjoy. It gets me out of the hockey arena in the off season. I look forward to heat and warmth and light and shadows and things that I don't see in a hockey arena. So I've got Bennett's Creature Features, which doesn't have a big following, but it fulfills my creative need, so I put it out there. It's a great way for promoting yourself, and I'm talking mostly about Instagram. Facebook, not so much these days. Having a good website, a clean website, is a good promotional vehicle. I've got a couple, my own website and one through Getty Images that shows my portfolio there.
Yeah, and I will put up links to everything so people can check out all your work, that's for sure.
Oh, thanks. Yep. Yeah, it's the best way to promote yourself. And yeah, I know that my summertime is when I start looking through all the social media that I do and going, okay, you got to scale something back. I still am not good on LinkedIn, which I don't think is important, quite honestly, for this profession. It's more important to be able to show your ongoing work, what you're shooting, and what you have shot.
Right.
And yeah, sometimes it's a little top heavy with too many images, but you gotta be there.
Definitely. On Instagram, especially with photos and younger photographers, one of the issues I have is when somebody has a so-so photo, but it's the family and friends that are saying, oh my God, that's such a great shot. Why aren't you shooting for this team, or why aren't you shooting for this company or wire service or whatever? Is like, how do you, I know it's not something we just jump into and say to some stranger, hey, dude, that wasn't really that good. We're not going to do that. But does that something that you see that kind of gets under your skin a little bit? Because I never know how to address that if somebody comes up to me with a not so great picture, but everybody's told them how great it is. Do you address that at all?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do, because I've got a big mouth and a big opinion, evidently. Some advice I'd give photographers is, first of all, separate your Instagram accounts from your professional photography and your personal, girlfriend modeling at the beach kind of stuff. I mean, just separate that in your websites, for instance. Maybe you want to have your personal website. It's always weird when somebody hypes me on taking a look at their work, and their website is, first of all, no hockey, which is always hysterical to me.
Right.
But the modeling stuff, like, I don't care, and it's obviously your friend who's doing the modeling, and your wedding shots and your portrait shots, which shouldn't be on the same website at all. But I think the thing that's most jarring to me is the oversaturation, which is easy to do, or the overprocessing, which is just huge. In the olden days, when you and I grew up, someone would, shoot, and I'd go, I don't want to see your 5 photos, I want to see your entire take. I want to see everything is shot on a game. And that's how you can tell how good a photographer is. You know, when you've got a photographer sitting next to you and you hear their motor going and they're shooting, 20 frames a second over and over and over again, and you're just thinking, like, what the serious hell is, you're going to have to go through all that shit.
Exactly.
Like, if you tried working with an editor that we do on all our bigger events, and you handed a digital card to an editor with, 700 images on it, they'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We don't have the time to go through this shit.
For one period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've seen some wacky things, and even in recent days, some events where it's basically headshot sessions at a press conference, and guy hands an editor 500 images, and they're like, hand it back to the photographer and go tag them. We need them tagged, so only the tags will come into the editor's workspace, because they don't physically have the time to go through all those images. And that's changed through the years from, handing off rolls of film, but also handing off digital cards and then transmitting directly from cameras. I mean, it's changed quite a bit through the years, but when younger photographers, or I shouldn't even put it that way, but photographers who are newer in the industry don't understand that shit flows downhill, and you can't produce that many images because something's going to get affected everywhere, including where you're going to store all those images after an event is over.
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of gets me with the social media is the have to have it now attitude. And I totally get it, that it is what's happening. So as far as sending images from the camera directly, getting them up quick, but as an older photographer, the thing that always has bothered me about that is I don't want to miss play. I don't want to miss the action. So in baseball, somebody hits a home run, and I know I got some decent photos of that. They want it right away, but then all of a sudden the next guy, there's a back-to-back. He hits a home run, but I'm sitting there going through my photos and sending them, to the social media team. That's always something that's kind of gotten to me. It actually happened during the 2014 Olympics when I was in Sochi. I was shooting and something happened, and so I look at the back of the camera and hit the buttons to send the one photo that makes a lot of sense for that play, but then all of a sudden puck's turned over and there's another photo and I missed it.
Yeah, I mean, we've all gotten caught like that, and I mean, photographers who are near me always like, I'm sure they're like, oh, this fucking guy's talking to himself. And yeah, it's usually me going like, what the hell, get your head in the game, like, pay attention to what's going on. Like, what are you doing? Because you always get caught trying to tag an image and send it. And at Olympics, we're wired. We're on Ethernet cords, and we're sending images. And you have to kind of get that out of your head and go, it doesn't need to be out at this moment. Right. It can wait 5 minutes. In my head, I'm thinking, a competitor is going to beat me on the wire with an image, but
exactly,
our clients will get it fast enough. I mean, we can, what I always love is Getty images. One of the promos and one of the things that I love is, from camera to client in 30 seconds. And yeah, in the right moment, and the editor is all set with a bulk caption, can slap it on an image, can Photoshop it, and yeah, we can do it in 30 seconds. There's no doubt about it, and I'm sure it's done on a lot of events that quickly. But when the photographer is sitting there, it's like you have to constantly get in, out of your head to do that, and say, you're going to lose the moment here. Wait till a play stoppage. Wait till a TV timeout. Wait till there's actually a break in the play when you can try to go back through all your images and tag some to be sent. And look, the social media people, that come to hockey games, whether they're working for the team or the league, they're really good at getting that stuff out fast, and they just don't seem to mind missing some things to be able to do that.
Definitely.
The pros that are shooting games for the teams, it's the NHL images photographers, the Getty images, the news photographers. I mean, we've got to be a little bit more cognizant of what's going on and when the right time is to pull the shoot and go, okay, I've got a spare moment where something's not going on, where I should actually send some images or tag images.
Definitely. Yeah, that's the thing I do kind of struggle with, because there's times, especially like for me in baseball, where I have another team guy, we might have three of us shooting a game where I have a decent shot, I like my angle and everything, but because I took longer and didn't get the image to the social media team, one of the other guys did, and all of a sudden that's the picture they use. And to me, it's like, well, wait a minute, I have one that just would stand out a little bit more, or theirs was not the best angle, but it's like I have to just let that go and just, like you're saying, just concentrate on covering what I need to cover and trying not to miss anything. So wait for the timeout, wait for in between innings, wait for the period break, whatever it is. That makes a lot of sense, and it's just hard sometimes when I see those other photos out there so quick, and I'm like, I didn't do it quick enough, but I try not to let that bother me and just keep doing my job.
Yeah. As I said, it's difficult to know when to pull the plug. You miss it and you've missed it. I mean, it's not like you can come back from missing a play or goal or, a home run. Once you've missed it, there's no way to come back from it. And that's always a difficult decision for a photographer to make, because you feel that pressure of deadline or pressure of being the guy who gets that image that gets used. It's always interesting when I go back after a game and I'm looking at my take and I go, well, this is the image I shot, sequenced 20 images, and this one's better and that one's better, and the one after that is even, the greatest. You're always going to look back and regret that you made that decision and the time to send an image, and also think about what you missed when you were sending that image.
That's the key, and that's what I'm just about to say, is I tell younger photographers when a big play happens and I see them looking right away to see if they got the play and action is still going on, I'm like, what are you going to do if you didn't get it? You're not going to do anything. You can't go back. So if you missed it, you missed it, but now you're missing other action because you just couldn't wait. You had to see right away if you got that shot.
Yeah, it's like a waterfall. It's like one thing leads to another, and you can miss multiple shots, and you just like, and every time I'm talking to myself, usually out loud, unfortunately, going, what are you thinking? Like, was that really necessary? And unfortunately, it's one of the things that comes up multiple times. It's not like, it comes up once in a game, and when it comes up a second time, then I'm really talking out loud going, what are you thinking? Like, what is wrong with you?
Okay, the big story I'd like to ask you about is, tell me about the Hall of Fame. Tell me about you and how that all came about, how you heard, everything like there. Just describe that whole thing.
Yeah, well, it was wacky. I mean, when I got the phone call, I thought it was a prank. It was something that had been rumored for a few years, and you just kind of put it out of your head. And I don't honestly, I don't know if the gravity of it all has even sunk into this day, and it was months and months ago. It was 9 months ago that became the first photographer into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's kind of weird because for me, I'm not an emotional guy, and I think part of that is because of my profession. I can't be emotional when you're shooting a game. It's very important for you to take your emotions down and not be emotionally involved in the play, whether you're a team photographer or you're an American shooting the U.S. team, that sort of thing. And so the whole thing about getting into the Hall of Fame, I wasn't very emotional about it, and I am still not. I still think, wow, that's just nutty, like somebody would even think of a photographer, because I'm so used to being thought as a second-class citizen in hockey arenas. Photographers are always, it just seems that people value video and TV companies and writers more than photographers. So I just guess I just kind of got used to that through all the years. That being said, USA Hockey did an unbelievable job. They were great to myself and my family. It was a great experience. The video they put together, which is up on YouTube as a testament to my career, was fabulous. Getty Images, New York Islanders, USA Hockey really did so many great things for me surrounding that event that, it's something I really treasure to this day.
That's awesome. It really is. That really is cool. When I saw it, it's just fun hearing somebody that's put all this work into it, has captured so many great moments. Sometimes we get some recognition, other times we don't, but that's like kind of like the pinnacle of I've had a good career, and I've done a great job, and you deserve it. That's for sure.
Oh, thanks. It's over 6,000 games, and those numbers are the numbers that they promoted there or they put out on the video. I mean, the numbers are staggering. And when you work game in, game out, you're really not focused on that. You really aren't. You're just like, I'm going to work. You kind of blink and you hit 5,000 games, and then you hit 6,000. I mean, look, I'm married and I'm just trying to stay out of the house. I mean, that's my standard line. Is
Right.
work for me. I've survived 6,000 press room meals. That's another way to look at it, which is kind of weird. But, look, doing something I love, and, it's great Instagram likes, or you get people who pat you on the back for a great photo. I mean, that's just so rewarding. And to end up in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame is just another level of wonderment to me for a lot of years that I spent doing what I love.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I will definitely be putting up links. I want people to go check out your books, check out your website, and really just, see a great history you have documented in hockey.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And hopefully I make it down to St. Louis and we can work alongside each other again soon.
That would be great. That'd be awesome. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks. Bye-bye.